Papanam Jivana Papanam Jivana Papanam Jivana Papanam Jivana Papanam 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 Pavanam Jivana Pavanam 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 Jivana Pavanam Pavanam Namaskar and welcome to the study group again. So we are just starting again. We were working on the Tantra part 1. This course is on Tantra part 1. And we did mantra and mantra Chaitanya and some other topics. But today we are going to shift gears and a little bit study about samskaras. It's a very interesting topic, and I made a slideshow on it. I just did a presentation in our retreat here, and this slideshow, I a little bit modified it since then, and we can go through it. Let's first read this quote. Padma, can you are you on? Do you have a computer? Can you see it?
Yeah, I'm on my phone, but I can see it, Dada. I can read it.
Okay.
Yeah. You want me to read it?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So long as you consider your identity separate from Supreme Brahma, and so long as you are engrossed with the individual I, you will have to continue to perform actions and inevitably earn their reactions, which in potential form are known as sanskaras. In order that these seeds of reaction can germinate, you will have to select a new physical form. In other words, you will have to subject yourself to the cycle of birth and death in this revolution of karma, like the oil mill bullocks. Both moksha and mukti, emancipation and liberation, will remain remote from you, beyond your access. If you make your mean ego the object of your atma, your actions will be the source of your enjoyment, but not of your salvation. Sri Sri Anandamurti, SS1.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, so in this quote, there's quite a few things. Of course, Supreme Brahma, that is Supreme Consciousness. And so it's saying that as long as you consider your identity separate from Supreme Brahma, and you are engrossed with the individual I, you will have to perform actions and earn their reactions. Now, we generally feel separate from Supreme Brahma. That's the problem. We feel that we are separate, but the meditation is trying to allow us to feel that oneness. And so when we do actions and we feel separate, then, and we are engrossed with the individual I feeling, then we inevitably will have to burn the reactions of those samskaras. And when you do that for lifetimes, hundreds, endless of lifetimes, you have so much karma, and you have to finish all of that before you can attain moksha and mukti. And the other part, it says here, if you make your mean ego the object of your Atman, your actions will be the source of your enjoyment, but not of your salvation. So normally when we do actions, we do it to enjoy something. And then, but we are not feeling the supreme consciousness in that action. We are just enjoying the action as an action. And so this is the nature of the ego, or the ahang, to enjoy or suffer consequences of actions. Now let's a little bit go deeper into this. I'll read this one. Samskara is the specific Sanskrit word used for what we commonly call karma. Karma means action. Samskara means reaction of an action in potential form for expression. So human beings have developed the ego and expression of ahang and mahat. They're the feeling that I am doing the action. This sense of individuality creates an imprint or reaction in the mind that is stored until it has potential for expression. Animals also have samskara, but their mind is guided directly by cosmic mind, and they do not have independent will and I feeling. So it is the ahang and mahat which separates us from the animals. Some of the animals do have some ahang and mahat, but are not so developed like us. Now we cannot just obliterate this ahang on a normal basis. If we want to do an action, we need to have ego. And in a way, it's not bad to have ego, because otherwise you cannot do actions. So we are here to do actions, so we need to have ego. But at the same time, this ego is binding us. So it's kind of a conundrum how to get out of this. Now, regarding Atman, and so normally we think of the soul, what we think of soul is actually the mind. And Atman is the word in Sanskrit that we use for the witnessing entity. And Paramatma is the witnessing entity of the entire universe. And so we basically have, I can just make a new slide quickly for that. So we have like, so we have like, we have the Atman is soul. And then we have the Mahat, which is the I exist feeling. And then we have the Ahang, which is I do, or ego. And then we have Chitta, which is objective mind. So this is kind of the basic of our existence. So the objective mind has the role of making pictures. You know, like you see an image in your mind, and so that is the reflection of what is outside. So the objective mind forms an impression of your external environment. The objective mind of the cosmic consciousness creates the entire universe. The entire physical universe is within the chitta of the cosmic mind. And the Ahang and Mahat is actually our Ahang, and the cosmic mind's Ahang is also shared. So Ahang and Mahat is also called superconscious mind. Although functionally, Ahang is the doer I, and Mahad is the existential I. The functionally, they have a very obvious and worldly existence of the ego and your existence, something which is very concrete. But they are also part of the cosmic mind, and all the layers of the mind are within the objective mind. So that means the Karma kosa, the Atimanas kosa, the Vijnanamaya kosa, Atimanas, Vijnanamaya, and Karma kosa, Manamaya kosa, Atimanas kosa, Vijnanamaya kosa, and Hiramaya kosa. So the 5 layers of the mind, they are all within the chitta. And so that's all the objective mind, although the layers of the mind are also some of them are very subtle. And so this is the interesting part of the philosophy, is that we have those 3 functionalities, the chitta being the objective mind, aham being the doer I or ego, and mahad being the existential I. So those are the functional chambers of the mind. But at the same time, the mind itself is really within the chitta, because the mind is created. The mind is created, basically, you have the conversion of consciousness into matter, and then matter converting into mind again. And so the mind is a creation in the Prati Sanchara part of the creation, means in the returning phase, when the matter is becoming pulverized and becomes mind, you have the development of the chitta. And so the chitta is part of the objective mind. And then if you are able to meditate and you are able to elevate yourself so that your Hiramaya kosa merges with ahang, or the doer and ego, the ahang is actually shared with the cosmic mind. So the ahang will just merge with mahad, and mahad will merge with atman. So to make atman the object of your meditation, it means that you're withdrawing the chitta into the ahang into mahad, and the mahad into atman. And when the atman doesn't have anything to witness anymore, so when atman doesn't have anything to witness anymore, the atman will just merge into paramatman, which is the supreme soul or cosmic consciousness. So that's kind of the overall. I mean, we need to understand, in order to understand the samskaras. So the samskaras are because we are acting from our ego and we are suffering the consequences. But the samskaras themselves, they are actually first expressing in the Atimanas kosa, and then have a full expression in the Manomaya kosa, which is our mind. The Karma kosa is controlling the physical body, our functions and instincts. Manomaya kosa is the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, where we are thinking on a day-to-day basis. Atimanas kosa is where the samskaras are expressing, and then Vijnanamaya kosa and Hiranyamaya kosa, they are, the samskaras are not, I'm not sure if they're working over there. So Atimanas and Manomaya kosa are the main samskara-related layers of the mind. I need to a little bit revise that part. I might be saying something wrong. So I'll double check on that. We can have a separate session on the layers of the mind. It's a deep subject and I would need to revise it. Okay, any questions, Padma? I know you were interested in this one.
Yes, Dada, I'm always interested in cleaning out the sanskaras. So the more I understand, I think I can better help myself.
Yeah, that's true. And so what we are, the trick of not creating new samskaras is that instead of identifying with the chitta or the objective mind or the aham, we are identifying with our atman or paramatman. We are basically thinking, I am not this body. I am the supreme being. It's a little bit like the story of the saint which was eating with his dog, and then some person came and said, like, what are you doing? Like, you're eating from the same plate as your dog. And the saint just said, well, the dog is Brahma, I am Brahma. It sounds gross. And
Yeah.
I don't encourage anyone to actually eat from the plate. But the story goes that this saint was actually realizing it was not just a joke. All right. We have different samskaras: imposed samskaras, acquired samskaras, and inborn samskaras. There is a very interesting chapter on this. Let me just quickly find that chapter. Yeah, so the inborn samskaras, yeah, I cannot find it now, but anyway, Baba gives it in a very details in one of the discourse. So imposed samskaras are basically from like from your family. Okay, let's just list it. So we have from family, we have from our school, from the neighborhood, or like environmental samskaras, and then we have from the society. Like environment means immediate environment, like where you grow up, your neighborhood. Then you have society in general. You have you can have so many things that impose and your workplace, spouse, There's so many things which influence our way of thinking. And so those are imposed samskaras. Now we also have, now this is also related to inborn samskaras. So like, let's say inborn should be first. So inborn samskaras is what you are born with from past lives. And imposed samskaras, and then we have acquired samskaras. So those are basically new samskaras, new actions, or original actions, we can call it. Now, when we are going through things, some things are obviously samskara related, like you're just going through something and you just have to suffer through it. And some things are kind of mixture. So let's a little bit ponder over that. I wish we had more people here. That would be easier. But like, here are some of the things that are like easy to discuss. For example, diseases, are they acquired, imposed, or inborn samskara? And so sometimes it can be a combination of those. Like, let's say you get cancer. Is that related to your diet? Is it because you were habitually working with some chemicals? Or is it from the environment? Or is it a samskara from past life? Like, it's really hard to tell in some cases whether a disease is acquired, imposed, or inborn samskara. But in any case, if we don't deal with a disease, then that's also an action. And so we need to deal with diseases. We need to face them. So like, let's say you cut yourself and you don't put the plaster, or you don't try to stop the bleeding, then that inaction could cause your death. And so inaction is also an action. And so we are bound to act. We have to try to be well if we get sick. And so sometimes when we get sick, we start pondering over it, like, is this a samskara, or did I do this? Like, why did I get sick? We start asking God, like, God, what happened? Like, why am I getting sick? And we don't know. We don't know because we forgot. We forgot our past lives. We don't know. And there's just no way to know. So then comes one useful thing, which is the prapativad. Which is basically like you are surrendering to the Supreme, and like, okay, whatever, it's divine will. And there's on the sutra, there's one sutra on this topic, which is hiteshina presida varga. I think Padma, you were with me on the sutra study group. Hiteshina presida bhavarga. So that one, the meaning of that one is that there's a divine benevolence behind every action, or like, whatever happens to you, you can take it that there's a benevolent desire of the Supreme behind it. The Supreme is not some mean guy in the sky, or like, the Supreme is divine, and he wants you the best. And sometimes you need to take some bitter medicine. Like, sometimes we need to go through things, unfortunately, which are difficult.
Dada, when we say Prapattivada, does it mean that us accepting is it, or does it mean that him giving it to us?
Well, I think
Or
what I understand of Prabhupada, I might be wrong, but what I understand is that Prabhupada is like accepting, like instead of thinking, I want to do something, you ask God, like, what would you like me to do? How can I please you? And when something happened to us, taking it as a blessing, even if it's something difficult.
Okay.
And it can be it can be a very difficult to do that.
Yeah, it
So,
is.
yeah, here is this sutra I was quoting. Hiteshana presido bhavarga. The requital of an action is guided by the divine longing for welfare. Even behind the requital of an act, the fruits that follow the completion of an act, lies the divine desire of benevolence. The punishment for an evil act teaches one to keep away from evil doings. The reward for a good and benevolent act teaches people that they will never get such a reward if they commit an evil act. So this is the, act here meaning like samskara.
Yeah.
Means behind the requital of an act. The requital of an act means undergoing samskara.
Oh.
So we need to have a very positive outlook in life. That's very important. Understand that there's a divine benevolence behind everything. Now, suicide, is it useful? It's not useful because the samskara is still there that you were dealing with. And so you still have to face it in next life. Plus the suicide is creating a bad samskara. So it is not useful. But at the same time, we cannot judge anyone.
Yeah.
It's so, it's a very difficult and sensitive topic because, sometimes the relatives will blame themselves, or, it's, it's difficult to say. We don't know what will be the outcome. Because once you pass over we cannot see it. So, but generally speaking, we do not recommend suicide. And so animal versus human samskara, the animals are guided by the cosmic mind. And so they also have samskara, but the human samskaras are a little different. And so we also have animal samskara, which propel us towards animal desires, because we were animals in past lives. And then another discussion, like, should we help people in distress? And the answer is yes, because inaction is also an action. And yeah, of course, it's their samskara, but
Yeah, but there's one point there in helping people in distress. You can only really help when Paramahansa allows you to help.
Yeah, that is true. That's also
we can, although some people might be distressed, we want to help them, but we find out many times we cannot help them. Only when
that's correct.
Paramahansa gives the means.
That is
then
correct.
we can help them.
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah, there are so many cases like that, unfortunately. Even in Andamarga, some people approach me and I just cannot. I cannot help. It's difficult.
That's a long story, actually. Yes, Baba also says Kirtan will cure all disaster and help anybody.
Right.
So long story.
That we can always do, yeah. But yeah, definitely we cannot always help people. I have been in a situation where I've had to make difficult decisions like that. Okay.
It can matter that at that time. I mean, if we cannot help them, at least wishing well for them, or
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. Now, life, death, and samskara. So when we die, basically the mind curls up and bundles up with the samskaras. The mind goes into the dormant form, and then the Atman, along with the karma phala or the samskaras, travel in the universe, and the Prakriti will find a suitable body to express that particular reaction. So that means also that where we are born is meaningful, and a lot of things that happen to us as children are predestined. That was something we had to go through. We did not have much choice there. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm not going to go into these things so much. So Madhvidya, I think this one is something that you're all familiar with. And so Madhvidya is a beautiful way to overcome the samskaras. And we need to always remember that. We call it second lesson in Anamarga. So to take second lesson. But like one time, Dada Diiptimanananda, when I was living with him in Thailand, he was asking me, okay, Dada, we do second lesson. And so you learn second lesson just in the beginning of your spiritual journey. But what is the difference between second lesson when you're starting your spiritual journey and second lesson when you have been already doing meditation for 20, 30, 40 years? That's why I said, I know that. So then he was explaining that second lesson, eventually it becomes like a flow. So it's not just that you're applying your mantra or applying your lesson before any action. It becomes like you're just feeling the presence of the Supreme. And so that's basically what Baba is explaining here, where he says this Madhvidya will pervade your exterior and interior with the ecstasy of Brahmananda and will permanently alleviate all your afflictions. It will pervade your exterior and interior. So means it's a flow.
Like a form of magic.
Yeah. No, I mean it becomes like a current of bliss that is just flowing through you, and you just spontaneously feeling Brahmanda. You're spontaneously feeling the bliss of the rasa, the bliss of the Supreme in your life. And so that's kind of the zenith of the Madhvidya. That's the Madhvidya in excellence. When you feel that divine flow. And so Madhvidya is a deep topic. And also Madhvidya is related to your meditation. So the deeper you go in your first lesson, the deeper the second lesson becomes. And so the more you are able to realize the Supreme Being in your first lesson, the more you start to feel that divine bliss also in your actions and in your day-to-day life. And so they are related, the first and second lesson. And Baba, there were some Margis. I read some Baba stories where Baba would bless Margis and they would just be in divine bliss and they would just completely be out of this world for a few days or up to a week. And I know some Dadas also and some Margis personally who had that experience. And I have even had that experience myself. There was one time, I decided to be a Dada when I was 23, about 1.5 months after my 23rd birthday. And then after I decided to be a Dada, I was very, very sincere with my meditation, of course. And then, so that was in October 21, I decided to be a Dada in 1996. And then in December, kind of mid-December, I had this beautiful Baba dream. And so when after that Baba dream, I was like floating in the air for a whole week. I was like totally just immersed with bliss for a whole week. So it's possible, it's very much achievable. But it's also a grace, like when you really have that type of experience, it's also a grace. It's not just that you earned it. It's a grace, it's something that is given by the Supreme. And so now in terms of the goal, so yoga is sanjogo ityuktu jivatma paramatmana, means to merge yoga is merging the jivatma with the paramatmana, with the paramatma. And so the samadhis, they are like a glimpse of that. And then the permanent salvation is mukti or moksha. And so that's the goal. And so let's say someone will have a savikalpa samadhi, this one here. So it means that their kundalini is arising up to any of the chakras below Sahasrara chakra. So those are called savikalpa samadhis. And divine experiences, the person will go, unconscious. And or they may experience even nirvikalpa samadhi. This one here. So the nirvikalpa samadhis or savikalpa samadhis, those are temporary experiences for a few minutes or half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours. But if you still have samskaras, the samskaras will pull the person back into the normal state. And then the person will realize, oh, I need to get rid of those samskaras and becomes ready to undergo anything. And so the highest form of devotion is the devotion where the devotee says, I want to do anything that will please you, O Lord. Means the devotee just wants to give bliss to the Lord. And then when you achieve that type of devotion, or Kaivalya Bhakti, then there is no ego anymore, because your only motivation is to give bliss to the Supreme. And then, of course, naturally, all these samskaras will just go away, and eventually the person will attain mukti or moksha. So if we want to desire anything, we should desire to have devotion, because that devotion will lead to final liberation. Okay, so I think that's probably enough for this topic. Any questions?
I think we know what to do, I guess. We just have to do it.
That's true. That's true.
Yes.
Well, I mean, it's good to know what we have to do because not everyone know what they have to do.
That is very true.
Most
Yeah.
people are maybe blaming God, why did you do this to me? But there's a divine benevolence behind everything. And there's a way out also.
Yes, 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 yes. I think Ananda Marga path has really brought Ananda into my life, Dada.
I'm happy to hear
had-
that.
I think the big shift happened in my mindset. I think as I understood, the sanskaras and the karmas, that whole path of how we have to experience some of these things. We have to go through it. There's no other way. No other.
Yeah.
And once I understood that, then that I understood that, I rather go through it joyfully. There's no other way to do this. I rather go through it joyfully.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and I'm happy that it's getting over. and that concept like so changed my mindset, and so I'm very grateful for that, and I talk about it all the time to other people, and try to make people understand the same. Yes, I think slowly, little steps. Yes, I
Yeah.
miss that retreat though very much.
Yeah, definitely.
She could have learned more. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. That
I think I'll play some kirtan before we conclude. We just finished the retreat and here in Asheville. It was very nice. And I invited everyone to join the study group, but I guess everyone was busy today. But there's one sister at least who will be listening to this later on.
Are you still there, Mother, in Nashville?
Excuse me?
Are you still there in Nashville?
Yeah. I'm now in the new rectory building.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have completed the rectory building.
Yeah. Thank you.
Pavanam Givana Pavanam Givana Pavanam Givana Pavanam Givana Pavanam Pavanam Givana Pavanam Givana Pavanam Givana Pavanam Givana Pavanam Givana Pavanam 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 Pavanam. Okay, namaskar. Hope to see you next week.
Yes.